So I'm here with Eddy Lawler from Peak Sportfishing. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. What's happening over there?
Oh, it's still pretty hot, and just yeah, we're not fully locked down, but yeah, been able to get out a bit, and yeah, it hasn't been too bad, mate. We're pretty isolated here anyway, so it's been good.
Yeah, oh, that's good, mate. I know everybody back here in New Zealand's absolutely hanging to get on the water. Unfortunately, we haven't been allowed to. So while we're in this lockdown, everybody has been enjoying a few talks. So I thought I'd rope you in to do one, mate, because you've got a pretty interesting story, about how you got started. So we'll tell a few people about that, and we'll tell people about your fishing and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about how I met you, mate. It's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah.
Where it's led to.
Yeah. So well, I met you in New Zealand there, and it started off obviously fishing here, and we were just sort of, it was the start of our blue marlin fishing, and all we want to do is go out and catch them, but we weren't catching them really well. It was losing a lot more than we were catching, and bits and pieces. So I was trying to obviously find lures and get as much information as I could about blue marlin and blue marlin fishing, and I came across some a couple of articles you'd done on blue marlin fishing in Cape Verde. It was rough, fishing there in New Zealand as well. It was rough. A lot of the stuff I was finding was flat weather fishing in Kona and bits and pieces like that, which doesn't sort of relate to here in Exmouth. Occasionally we get it flat, but more often than not it's rough, so it's and that's what I was after. I was after some more rough weather lures, and talked to someone that had been fishing in those sort of conditions as well, and just happened to be that Mum was living in New Zealand at the time, was just around the corner from you, and somebody that I knew there knew you, and I said, you reckon you could tee up a meeting so I can go and have a look at some of these lures and talk to the man himself, and that was sort of where that ended up. We teed it up, and
I couldn't get rid of you after we fed you.
A few toasted cheese sandwiches later.
yeah. But it was a great thing about it. I got to learn a little bit about the Exmouth fishery, and that was right at the infancy of the blue marlin fishery, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So since then, you went back, you got a few lures off me. You started sending me some pictures, and I was pretty impressed with the numbers of fish that you had there. So I got a chance to come across and actually fish with you and check it out. And so, like when I first came across, you had a 25-foot contender. How did you get started up there, mate?
How I got started here in Exmouth, it was a bit of a long story, but it's I was in Darwin before coming here. Wanted to travel. I'd never been to WA. It sort of everything I'd looked at, and that it had good surf, good fishing, and Exmouth itself was the last place on the coast that had both waves and good fishing. So that's how I ended up sort of here. And then when I got here, there wasn't anyone doing the sports fishing stuff full time, and I rolled up with a 4.5 metre tinny with a 25 on the back, and was going out and getting shots at sailfish and black marlin, catching GTs on the back of the reef out of my tinny, and I was like, this is a pretty special spot. Imagine the damage you could do here with a proper sports fishing boat, and that's where my whole plan was always to go back to Darwin, but I never got any further than here. This is home. It's been home now for 12 and a half years now. So,
Well, tell us a little bit about the fishery there, mate.
So, in the way of, marlin fishing, we've got year-round marlin fishing for black marlin and sailfish. Just depending on how the current's pushing, we will still see blue marlin, striped marlin, all year. But generally our seasons are, blue marlins will start an early seasons end of August and September, and then it's in full swing October, November, December, January. if the current's pushing too hard and it's a bit hot, they'll start, we'll see water temps up, sometimes February, early March in the 30, 31 degrees out there. So it gets a bit hot. But when the years are a little bit cooler, that fishing, fishing goes all the way through the, what are we now? We're end of April, and there's blue marlins out there right now. So, but as it cools off, in May, June, July, you can go out any day of the year and get shots at black marlin anywhere. A couple of shots to 10 shots in June, July. As well as
it's definitely from what I saw, it's a pretty amazing fishery. It's certainly the most diverse fishery for billfish that I've ever seen, where you can catch the multiple species in a day.
Yeah, and everything's close. It's the closest point anywhere in Australia to the continental shelf. So it's which makes things easy. Travel times aren't far for our inshore grounds. Are just literally you can see the boat ramp from where you're catching them, and our blue marlin grounds are, it's 6 mile out. You're putting your gear in and fishing.
So obviously the blue marlin is your pick of your species that you like targeting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what we
Yeah, well, as I say, I've been lucky enough to be with you on a few of those adventures, and you have been on a few other adventures, haven't you, mate? Not just Exmouth. You've fished around the place a little bit, haven't you?
Yeah. What year was that? We went to Cape Verde there for a bit of a boys' trip there.
2015.
Yeah. And that was unreal. And
then you actually ended up running the boat after I left, didn't you?
Yeah, the next season went back and leased it off Burno, and it was Muzz and I ran the boat there for the season, and had a ball. Saw some pretty special fishing, and
and you would have seen some big fish there too.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was real good.
So tell us a little bit about what we could expect, or how your seasons have gone, because I know you've had a couple of real beauties on numbers for blue marlin over there.
Yeah. So, the last couple of seasons haven't been probably the easiest seasons for us in numbers of blue marlin. Again, we did this year we did 86 blue marlin in 76 days of fishing. The year before was, we did 78 days and only caught 56 blue marlin, so that we've had two tougher seasons, but the numbers on the black marlin were great. Striped marlin numbers and the yellowfin numbers were right up, so that made up in between, and then 3 years ago was the best season I'd seen outright here. We'd also just taken on the 36 blackwatch as well, which opened our fishing right up as well, and we can have a chat about that in a bit. But that season there was we caught 161 blue marlin, 165 blue marlin in 81 days. Within that, we also did 26 days of fly fishing as well. So, we did a hell of a lot of fly fishing in there. It wasn't just all conventional, and we were getting big shots, lots of numbers on the fly. So, and it was good. We caught a few fish too. So,
so it's a pretty amazing season. I know anywhere that you can average 2 a day, and let alone 2 a day, including all those days fly fishing, is a pretty special fishery.
Yeah. So, and our average out doesn't matter if it's a hard season or a good season. It seems to be about 1 in 10 is a 500-pound fish or better.
I was going to ask you about the size.
Yeah. So, and that big season, that was the season of all seasons for us. We caught the grander, caught that 1089 on the 1st of January. And then, coming off the back of that in April, we got a world record black marlin on fly. It was the seasons of all seasons.
On that, that's the first grander blue marlin ever landed in Australian waters. Tell us a little bit about that, mate.
Yeah, so it was 1st of January. We weren't charter fishing. I just left... 1st of January being New Year's Eve, obviously the night before, give the boys a break. But we went fishing anyway. It was just with a couple of mates, and it all came together. It was just one of those things. We fought and, you know, had big fish on and fought them late into the dark, lost them here. You've done it. You know, they're just big ones that get away, you know, and or big ones that, you know, it just wasn't catchable, you know. But in the conditions we were in, and we always said, you know, it'd be good to have a day that was get one on, have the crew, have the right angler, and, you know, someone there to take photos, hook it in the morning, dead flat, have some stuff on our side, you know. And it was just everything came together on that day. We ended up getting her on at about 11 o'clock, and yeah, and even the fish, we knew it was coming before it even. I'd marked it at 40 metres. My mate was sitting next to me in the bridge, and I said, "That's a big one. That's a proper one." And yeah, started to pull a slow turn and give the anaconda a window, and it yeah, we just watched this dark brown shape submarine just start emerging on the long right teaser, and yeah, first couple of bites were just a couple of picks, and then yeah, as soon as I started pulling it off her, and she got angrier and angrier and ended up swinging across, eating the violator, smashed that twice, you know, and she just kept coming, and then yeah, we got the switch happening, and the first bite on the tuna, it completely missed it, spun on a dime and just ate it again. So, and yeah, the video's on my Facebook. I haven't yet put it on YouTube. It will go on there, but
yeah.
It's yeah, it is on the Facebook there. You can see it.
I've watched it, and it's
down.
pretty impressive. So if anybody you know, wants to see something pretty special, jump on there if you like blue marlin. This is as good as it gets, really. So were your knees trembling, mate?
Oh yeah, shaking. All the hot ones get you shaking anyway, but that one was certainly, you know, yeah. There wasn't much yelling going on. It was yeah, everyone was, I think, yeah, jaws around their knees, you know, just like big one.
Yeah,
proper one.
Yeah, and you've seen a few others there, the same sort of size.
Yeah, we've had a you know, had our run-ins with some big fish, you know, over the time, and that, especially in the contender, you know, a lot of the time, like it is, and that was one of the things to moving to a bigger boat. It did make it hard fighting big fish out of a smaller boat in rough seas, you know, not just on driving but on your angler, you know, getting thrown around, and, you know, yeah, it does make it a little bit harder, but it's not, you know, we caught plenty of nice ones out of the contender, don't worry, you know. Let a few good ones go, but yeah, nothing, you know, at that as big as that, but
Yeah.
Certainly had my share of big ones on, and lost and learnt from each one of those too, you know. So
yeah, well, that's what all comes together. That fish didn't just happen by accident, you know.
Nah. Yeah.
So all the ones you lost put you, you know, taught you a lesson, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And you look back now and you go, geez, I probably could have caught a couple of those other ones now.
Yeah,
knowing what you knew.
Nah, that's for sure.
But give us a rundown of your program, like how you actually fishing with, since you are on this on the new 36. Like,
Yep.
give us a rundown of like what somebody could expect to see it behind your boat.
Yeah, so well, starting short, we run two dredges, short, and then behind those I run two bridge teasers, which pretty much consist of a violator and an anaconda. They're my two main go-to lures on my shorts, and of course I'll swap that up depending on conditions and stuff like that, and then behind those I'll run two lures with hooks in. So, and generally, and you know, those, unless it's dead flat, and even then I'll still run like a Trojan or a BTK are my two go-to lures on the longs, just because they're small, straight running, cup-faced lures. They're just easy for them to eat. So that's if I've got a fish coming obviously long and it's lazy, it's an easy lure for him to eat. And then if, say, a fish comes on my short, and that's what we're running, those two bridge teasers, we're switching to those. And if we muff it up, or so it just doesn't go down right on the switch, the fish turns around, it's got again an easy lure to eat on the way out, and usually it's a pretty good bite.
Yeah.
So Yeah,
So-
that's what.
So that's very much in contrast to how I fished when I fished with you originally when you had the 25.
Yep.
What's made you change up? Because I know you were running a full lure
Yeah.
setup when I first came across and fished with you.
Yep.
Why have you changed? And has it been any more successful?
Yeah, success-wise, it's probably no. I probably don't catch any more or any less baiting and switching. Obviously, the stats look a hell of a lot better. That's the main thing with lure fishing and versus baiting and switch. You know, like a fish comes and eats my short teaser, eats it once and buggers off. It's a raised fish. Whereas you run hooks in it, boom, he eats it, pulls some line off. That's a bite and a hook up, and he falls off. It's a missed opportunity, but you might not have got a switch out of him. You know where I'm coming from there. It's the stats always do.
I know exactly where you're coming from.
Always look better at baiting and switching, you know. So I've had some amazing runs lure fishing, you know, like
Yeah.
out of the Contender, we had a run there that we went 30 from 33 bites on the Islander, and we thought we got this shit sorted. It's, you know, there's no other lure to ever run, and that come crashing down pretty damn quick after after that. We're like, what's going on, you know? And it's just the way the fish change their bite habits or whatever they're feeding on to. Yeah, you certainly, it's a leveler, that's for sure. But yeah, the bait and switch, and the main thing why I've gone across to it is, and for my clients as well, it's a lot more interaction with the clients. They've got to catch the fish, you know, when he comes on that short. There's nothing really to hand feed a 400, 500 pound fish. Like, that's what we all do it for. Be it, you know, everyone likes a surface bite off whatever it be, a marlin, a GT or whatever. It's all visual, back of the boat, and you get to feed that fish a bait or a lure. Pitch to it is pretty cool, and I don't just get one bite out of it. I get 4 or 5 bites before he gets to the angler's bait, and then yeah. So
well, you do mention something right there, which I think is quite a, like what I learned is quite a misconception, is it doesn't always have to be a bait.
Yeah.
That you're pitching.
Yep.
You know, that you mentioned pitching lures there, and it's something, I mean, personally I've done quite a lot, but I mean, you mentioned it there. Like, just run us through what you're doing there.
Yeah, so it's not always. It was one of the things we found in Cape Verde. We pitched a lot of lures in Cape Verde just because we didn't have a fridge or a freezer or always access to fresh ice every day. So yeah, we pitched a lot of lures when we were in Cape Verde and had really good hookup and success there. Doing that here, we still do it here, especially out of the Contender a lot. The Black Watch though, you know, we pitch a lot of bait, but I can, you know, catch my bait prior to the season, look after it, cryovac it, and get it all down and keep it in the freezer, you know, for each day's charter. But yeah, it's just one of those. It's pitching lures. It can be really successful, eh? It's you don't have to necessarily pitch a bait to it. You can pitch a rubber squid with 2 hooks in it too. You know, that works pretty damn good as well. Yeah, which I think a lot of people think that it's, you know, bait and switch, and you're just pitching. You are pitching a bait.
Yeah. So with that in mind, like what is the, like, what's, like, if you were going to give some advice to a guy like a crew starting out, because there's a bit of a learning curve switching. If you don't fully commit to it, it's going to be a disaster. So what would you suggest to a group of guys starting out?
Yeah, so it's if you can obviously run two lures long, which you're not going to miss out on your lazy fish. Then if you haven't done a lot of teaser fishing, you know, that fish, if he is lazy and he just comes on the long, and you're just going to get him on and eat a hooked lure. Now, if you're going to run 2 short teasers and run 2 lures long, you don't necessarily have to pitch a lure in there if you don't have have the spare rods and bits and pieces for the setup if you're just getting started. A lot of guys will just, we can tease the fish in, and you can wind your long lure into position where that big lure just came from, and generally that fish will follow your teaser. You tease him in, up he comes, the teaser comes out, the fish turns around, the next thing he's going to see is that smaller lure sitting there in behind where you've just teased him from, and it's usually a pretty good bite, usually an outside in, straight over the top bite, which is what you want.
The more aggressive bite you can get, the better.
Yeah. Or you could just have that lure wound up, sitting there ready to go, ready to be literally pitched off a rod sitting there ready to go, and tease that fish and bring it. You'll get a bite off him with a 30-foot leader with the swivel sitting on the rod tip. Will come all the way if he's hot enough, which is that's the shit right there.
Yeah. So you're basically just doing the switching for the visual and the hands-on aspect.
Yeah. He's not sitting there and boom, there he's got him on, and he's.
I know it does take a good amount of concentration too. You've got to be paying attention.
Yeah. If you're not looking, it doesn't work.
No, exactly. But you do raise a couple of good points there, though, that no real difference in catch rate between lures and switching.
Yep.
But there's, on your lure fishing, it's definitely come a long way from when I first met you.
Yeah.
And how you were fishing when I first met you to how you're fishing now. I mean, we always talk about the ones we catch, and you had that really good run of catching those 30 odd off from a hat. How many of those fish, what are you caught if you're fishing your old style? You reckon, what were your percentages?
Oh no, nowhere near. But we're generally usually running on a lure catch rate somewhere around that 75 to 80% on lures, and a lot of those fish aren't hooked. They have got the hook around the bill, and that's that just bumps your numbers up, straight away. If you can catch those fish that come in and swat, not every blue marlin comes and eats outside in and or inside out and annihilates your lure. I wish every one of them did, but that's the bites we all want, and that's the ones you're hanging to see. But a lot of the time when they're feeding on whatever they're feeding on, small bait, we get it here a lot, they'll be feeding on tiny stuff, that's 3.5, 4 inches long, just little baits, and they're eating them, and they can be hard to catch. They come up, swat, almost, you're like sailfish and little striped marlin, and then off they go. They're not, you get a couple of shots and they're gone. And if you can get them where they pick that lure out, and that hook jams around his bill, or just the tip of the point locates just in only a couple of mil, and you can set your fight up with your angler and drive in the boat to catch that fish. It certainly that's how you're going to catch more.
Yeah. So, with that in mind then, mate, run us through a couple of things. One, if you hook the fish on a lure, tell us through what you're thinking then, and then go through and maybe explain the rigs you're using, mate, and why.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll fight every fish like it is around the bill, because I'll catch him. If he's hooked good, I'm going to catch him. But yeah, if he is around the bill and you go and slam your drag up on him while he's taking some line, or you're fishing straight off the bat with heavy drag anyway, and it just tries to pull his head away, and you pull his head back the other way, that hook's just going to slide straight off. So we're generally running around 5 to 6 kilos of drag on the bite, and the boys will bring that back too, down to sort of 4. Just let them go, and obviously I drive the boat. If he eats along, I usually backing up between my dredges and 2 short teasers, and straight up at trying to keep that fish as short as possible. Because obviously I don't want my angler and myself, I don't want to watch it jumping at 400 metres out the back of the boat, and there's your fish over there, you can't see it. I want it jumping at,
Yeah,
20
but that's
metres from
probably
the boat. And
yeah, exactly. That's what we do it for.
Yeah,
but
that's
also, I mean, there's a big part of that is about you not wanting it to go deep. I'm taking as well.
Yeah, keep them short and fish that light drag and just use drag when we need to. So if a fish goes down, there's not much you can do. You can sit there and stay on it on light drag and wait for that fish to come back up, and he will come back up. But obviously, depending on what the bite's doing and that as well, if it's depending on how, quick you do want to catch him, you may pull the hook on him, putting the drag up while down there. But if he's got a bit of line on you and you're using that belly, you can put a bit more pressure on them and always staying behind the fish is the main.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
rule.
why you're putting the belly in there.
So that's and running 30-foot leaders, keeping that lure as far away from the fish as possible and back behind him. There's some really good underwater footage stuff. Just shows how much belly is in that in just your leader, with a lure behind it when they do get short. But when he's got 150 metres out on you, that lure's sitting directly behind him, so it ain't going to come off if it's around here or like that. It's as soon as you come around here, that's where it all starts. Just keeping those angles and using drag when you need to. If he's down, give him a bit of drag, and you may pull the hook. You might not, but sometimes it's your only option. But if he's up on top, be nice. Go easy. It's easier on the angler, and take the easy ones when you can. That's the big thing, because they certainly know how to flog you as well when they don't want to play the game or they haven't read the book.
Definitely. But I think that's really the key, is what you're saying is keep that lure behind the fish and use just enough drag to gain line while it's on the surface.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So, and especially like in those smaller boats and that, where you can run up forward on them. I run up forward in the 36 black box as well. I don't just chase them in reverse the whole time. It's spin around and get some line back quick, and belly's your friend, especially lure fishing. It's the, everyone thinks, you might be anglers there, I'm slack, he's gone, but there's 100 metres of line in the water, plus a leader, plus a lure, and those blue marlin, don't stop swimming. They keep moving forward when they're running down sea or doing whatever. You get the odd one there's always that one that'll stop and tail down and head up and shake on the top, and there's not much you can do about that, but it's one in very few, to the amount that you'll catch.
Yeah, so with that light drag on the bite, if he eats it good, are you still pretty confident that fish is going to have enough drag in there to bury that hook?
Yeah, well, so I'm running out of my clips. I don't run tag lines. I run them straight up in the clip, and I run 5 kilos straight out of the clip. So we're on a peg marker, and that fish eats at 5 kilos with those hooks are that sharp. They're like hypodermic needles. That it's in. It's either found home or it's found somewhere to stick. And I'm pretty confident then and there that you could go back to 1 kilo.
Yeah.
It's just you can't really go too much less than 4, 3.5, 4. Just otherwise, you just got shit going everywhere, and they do get, you're just giving them more line than you probably need to, but.
Yeah, so that start there, you're just trying to stay connected to them.
Yeah,
Now, you mentioned that you're going away from tag lines. Any difference in your catch rate or anything since you've done that?
Not at all. Biggest thing for why I did do it, I used to run tag lines and it was all, either drop back and that, and I've not seen, any difference in it. I think it's better running it up out of the riggers for the way we fish, especially switching to our shorts and turning the boat, and you haven't got a tag line dipping when you turn, trying to give a window and a fish switching, and you get him on short and the tag line drops and the fish has exploded in the middle of his spread and he's jumped over your long or jumped into your long, and so that's the main reason for us doing that is why I put them up in the clips. It keeps my spreads a lot bigger. It's not being pulled in with the tag lines as well. I've got a bigger footprint, and it keeps my 2 longs up and out of the way, away from my teasers while we're doing what we're doing in short. So
So
and I can get consistency out of those clips. They're the same every time, you know. So it's running rubber bands off a tagline, or you can run clips off the tagline too. But running rubber bands, you put a rubber band out there and you pull him first thing in the morning, and then that lure doesn't get bit till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It'll break at 250 grams or 300 grams, in the sun. It's there's no consistency to it. So that's the other thing.
So with all that in mind, run us through how you're actually rigging your lures.
Yeah, so standard lure. So I've got a BTK here. This one's got 400 in it. Running it all swinging from the back of the lure straight in the, got a hook lock in the back here. A thimble, just heat shrinked half that eye there. So, and run down here to the other end. This end here is probably the more important end of the whole rig. Half the eye heat shrunk, and half the loop there as well heat shrunk, just to avoid that hook going all the way around onto the wire. But that's our swinging hook rig. And a lot of the fish that we're catching that are around the bill, or the hook point's just in the bill, that hook will have, when he comes in and swats it from the side or wherever he does, and that hook bounces round and grabs him in the top here. A lot of the time you've only got a mil or a couple of mil or 3 mil of hook point in there, and there's a good 10 mil before you get to that barb. So we take the barbs down a bit too, and the boys hone these here. You can pretty much pull these things through your thumbnail. They're that sharp. That's how sharp they need to be before they go out behind the boat. So they're like a hypodermic needle. But even with that 5 kilos out of the clip, and he swats it, and that comes round and just enough to grab, and you stay behind that fish with that, the line or the wire here in his mouth, or sometimes you don't even get that. It's just around there like that.
Yeah.
So just, and if he crashes it, you're gonna catch him outside in anyway. You're gonna that hook point's gonna drive home so hard anyway if he eats it good.
Yeah.
It's that rig's purely to catch those ones that are just been a pain in the ass.
And what about size of hook?
So size is a 9.0. 9.0's our would be in. Is pretty much in every lure that we run, except those few biggest, stuff like a Hercules or a Viper that will run a 10.0 in, or a couple of those bigger angle-faced lures, like a Ballistic, for example, will run a 10.0s, but all single hook. They're all single across the board. So
yeah. So what about in your angled lures? Which way are you running the hook up?
Yeah, so
which way do you run the hook, up or down?
Hook up. It's been one of those things with whereas we do run it, we do put the hook down sometimes as well, especially if you drop a couple.
Yeah.
But that's about the only thing. Yeah, I still run it. I run it up, like running it up. But that's just a single hook rig, same for angle, flat, cut face lures. It's all the same hook rig. Just keep it.
But
simple. And
you mentioned probably the most important part of the rig is the hook sharpness.
Yeah. No, you should be able to pull that thing through your thumbnail with ease.
And I'm sure you've done it in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, mate. Well, well, thank you very much for your time.
No worries, mate.
I for everyone out there that follows Bonze lures and that, I think that they need to know that you play a very big part in the development of all the products that we get. Everything that I pretty much make goes to Eddy, gets tested, and it doesn't get put out on the shelf until you've pretty much given it the go ahead. So you're a pretty big part of the old Bonze lures, and it's great to see from when I first met you to where you've come now, mate. It's a real achievement for you.
No, it's been a good road.
Yeah, it has been. It has been. It's been great following it, and we really look forward to seeing what comes in the next few years, mate. But if anybody's, anybody's interested to come across, like obviously we talk about all these techniques. The best way to do it is come and jump on your boat and see what you do.
Yeah.
How do they get hold of you?
Yeah, you can obviously give us a call, but you can get us through our Facebook page, Peak Sportfishing Adventures. It's on Instagram as well. And then, you can just get us on email. It's probably the easiest to get hold of me. Once I start fishing, we go pretty hard. So it's, Eddy, EDDY, at peaksportfishing.com.au, and just flick us a email there, and we can get back to you.
Yeah.
And,
well, I can tell everybody I've been there and I've fished with you, mate, and it's well worth the adventure to go across and check you guys out. So thanks very much, mate. And
easy, mate.
And hopefully you're back on the water soon, eh?
Yeah. Sooner the better.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Thanks, man.
Too easy, man. Have a good one.